Chris, you will not believe what we just found. Come on. Oh my God, come on.
Oh my God.
Jump the spider.
What is it, guys?
Look at this.
I'm Blake Polson, and my friends and I are on a journey to find mushrooms deep in the woods of Tallahassee, Florida. I have a passion for nature photography, and mushrooms are my favorite subject. It also happens that Tallahassee is home to some very fascinating fungi species. I'm so happy to show my friends around the woods. Hopefully I can inspire some fungi frenzy in them.
Okay guys, mushroom hunt, day one. We're out here in the woods, filming some trees, trying to find some mushrooms. So let's see what happens.
They're almost like aliens. They're really crazy just to look at, and they're just so different from like a leaf or like a blade of grass or something that look a lot more ordinary.
What do you think about all this, George?
I'm really into this. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I wanna find more stuff. Yeah, I just didn't know anything at all. I didn't know they were their own thing. I thought they fell in kind of to like the plants or maybe even like bacteria or something like that. I didn't know anything at all.
And sometimes you just gotta like sit down and like really look at the ground for like a good few minutes, and then the mushrooms will start to appear. I can't really explain why I'm so obsessed with mushrooms. They're so cool. They have so many different colors and textures, and they work so much differently than animals or plants. They're so interesting to find. They're almost like, I don't know, hidden gems in the woods. Like it's almost like a treasure hunt. Photographing mushrooms is really interesting. It's very fun because you can really get a lot of different angles. You can really play with the subject more than you can with animals, obviously.
Photographing mushrooms is quite different from photographing other organisms like people or animals. Mushrooms and fungus don't move at all because obviously they're stationary. So you have to get a little bit more creative with how you shoot it. You tend to focus less on camera movement and more on just composition and framing. That's probably the biggest difference, the biggest distinction that I can think of.
Mushrooms come in all different shapes and sizes. I mean, there are ones the size of your hand, but there's also ones that are smaller than your pinky. Looking for those really small ones, you have to have like a really open eye and like really search the ground, search every little speck of every log, and like keep your eyes peeled for circles and colors that stand out. If you can do that, then you'll see really cool mushrooms that you would never be able to see if you had just walked by the path.
Find any mushrooms, George?
Found a few. Found a few good mushrooms. Found a turkey tail, the bird's nest as well. I've heard some things about the poisonous mushrooms. I don't know, the red caps, I think they're poisonous. It's like, don't eat the red caps, so that's a little bit scary because I also don't know anything about them. I'm assuming other mushrooms are also poisonous. They're kind of scary in that regard, yeah.
I feel like people are so afraid of them being like poisonous, but they're not oozing with cyanide, not even the poisonous ones. There are only about 100 species of poisonous mushrooms in the entire world out of the hundreds of thousands of mushroom species.
Fungus was one of the things I didn't know anything about, so I thought, okay, why not? I might as well do this mushroom project. It seems pretty cool.
Although I have learned much about mushrooms in the past 2 years, they still remain a mystery in many ways. So we asked a local ecology expert to teach us what he knows.
When you're out, you just end up seeing that we have this huge diversity of mushrooms that grow in all kinds of different settings. We don't have a lot of like mycologists in our area. I haven't talked to anyone who's really a mushroom expert, but you pick things up along the way. Certain things that people eat specifically, I have a lot of friends who forage for mushrooms, In a place like this, I'll have all kinds of different, like really just weird looking mushrooms, and that's just fun to see when you're on a hike, just some translucent thing or some really, interestingly colored thing, or multiple different mushrooms growing out of a tree or a dead, log on the ground, There's a lot of like little grubs and things, little termite eggs. See these holes here? Yeah. There's a spider right there. And I don't know my spiders. There's not that little red mark like a black widow. But...
It's a acorn weevil hole.
Oh, weevil.
There's no weevil, but
Oh, I wish.
yeah, I wish. This is what he came out of though when he was born.
Weevil.
Yeah.
Oh, they come out of the acorn?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a perfect circle.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that they came out of the acorn. I thought they just drilled in there for like food.
We always talk about biodiversity and talk about the diversity of how many life forms there are here. And people tend to focus a lot on plants and animals. And when you're out, you just end up also seeing that we have this huge diversity of mushrooms that grow in all kinds of different settings. And mushrooms are just what we see are the fruit body. It's a reproductive organ of the mushroom. But mushrooms are inside of anything that's dead and decomposing. And then it's also just in the soil. So all these trees that are here, they call it the wood wide web. And so they're all talking to each other through basically mushroom mycelium that connects them, and they transfer water, nutrients, they alert each other to pest infestations and things like that. It's just a really beautiful part of how things die and decompose. Nature's this system that death is the part we ignore.
The mushroom that we see is just a fraction of the fungus's body. Instead of having roots and branches, the systems of fungi are made up of tiny, fibrous, vein-like cell structures called hyphae, which form the structure known as mycelium. Mycelium is everywhere. There are about 1 to 20 meters of hyphae within each gram of soil. That's up to 5 miles of networking for every pound of soil.
Mushrooms don't need sunlight like people think. They just need dead matter to eat. They don't really eat. They just kind of absorb stuff around them.
One of the first thing that happens to a tree that dies is mushrooms start growing inside of it, and it breaks down lignin, which is like the part that makes wood hard. And that makes it soft, and the next thing that happens is insects start like eating it or nesting in it. If it's still a standing tree, like a lot of different birds like woodpeckers will nest in it, and that brings air in it, which decomposes it further, and then it's the whole process starts with mushrooms of it becoming soil again, and then some other tree later on growing out of it.
Fungi usually grow after rain. They need water in order to grow. So if it's super dry out, you're not going to find any mushrooms, sadly. But if it's been raining consistently for a couple days, it is definitely time to go out and look for some mushrooms. I feel like people kind of gloss over them as just something that is not really essential to life, but it is very essential to the circle of life.
It's also too, people look at it as a mark on your lawn too, I think it's part of a symptom of an overall sort of nature kind of, not aversion, but like a blindness to it. Like people don't pay attention to it as much, and they don't go out into it as much. Or even when we're in a park like this place preserves a type of environment around some areas, but it's a park, so there's a lot of artificiality to it. In general, just don't have that connection to nature, and I think mushrooms maybe suffer for it as far as their image in the public.
Mushrooms have just so many colors. You could go on a walk and find every single color of the rainbow just on that walk. I've done it before. Mushrooms have just the coolest textures, not just looking at them as far as the patterns, which are really insane to look at, but you also gotta touch them. And even if it is poisonous, you can still touch the mushroom. That is something that people don't understand, is you have to eat the mushroom in order for it to affect you. It doesn't absorb through your skin. So you can touch any mushroom, just wash your hands afterwards. You gotta try stuff that's different. Like, you gotta try new things. You gotta see what's out there.
I feel like a lot of people are very closed-minded and kind of live in their own bubble, and they don't really take the opportunity to look around their environment and explore the world around them. And I think mushrooms are a really great way to do that, just going on mushroom adventures and hunting down different fungi. It's almost like collecting Pokemon or something, because there's all these different species that you want to see and you want to discover, and they all have really crazy shapes and colors, and they're all just so different. There's so much variety. And I think when you view it like that, like it's a game, it makes it a lot more fun, and it just kind of encourages you to go outside more, which I think is very important to living a healthy and happy life. I think now I'm more aware of my surroundings, and I'm going to have more of a keen eye on what I'm looking at.
I guess cool to see how it interacts with all the plants and the animals, and you know, mushroom and fungi in general kind of have their place in the ecosystem. Just it's cool that there's a lot of variety. If you go out looking for mushrooms, you never know what you might find. There's a lot of different kinds you can find, so it's like a treasure hunt.
Although many people tend to walk right by them, fungi are such an interesting kingdom of life. They not only act as the decomposers of the world, breaking dead plants, animals, and other fungi back down into nutrients to be recycled, but they are amazing models for photography and great treasures to find in the woods. Hopefully, we will keep trying to find the fungus among us.